In this life, education is a major factor that can determine the future. According to data disclosed by the Ministry of Education Indonesia, education is vital for his future because 97% of the things in life are reflected on how education they have. Considering the importance of education for all existing human beings, the Indonesian Ministry of Education proposed to carry out equality of education in Indonesia by providing scholarship to underprivileged people. By providing scholarship to people who are not financially well off, the government will provide access to education that can help them to study later. But in the fact, nowadays that many people are financially capable, even though the scholarships aims to provide education costs to people who can afford it, this is because the current scholarship still has an element of economic ability. As an example of a talent achievement scholarship which is only based on academic achievement. Referring to the law number 20 of 2003, concerning the national education system, chapter 5, article 12, it states that every student in every educational unit who does not have a limitation in the economy is entitled to a scholarship to assist them in developing their abilities in educational unit such as school, campus, and whatnot. Scholarships, which are said to be financial assistance to support the educational life of Indonesian students to continue their education level, are no longer in line with the serious effort regarding the fair distribution of these scholarships. Because in fact, scholarships are given as an effort to improve the equality or quality of education in Indonesia, so that there is no longer a reason for a smart student but in a poor economic conditions to decide to drop out of education. Remember, scholarships aim to provide access to education for people who are financially incapable, while current situation that people who there are still many people who are financially capable, which means they have a shared access to education than people who cannot afford scholarships. This proves that the status quo is not accordance with the actual purpose of the scholarship, which is to provide access to education for people who are financially incapable. So that we believe that the scholarship should only be granted on the basis of financial necessity. Scholarships here can be interpreted as a form of appreciation given to individuals who are financially underprivileged in order to be able to continue their education to a higher level, which can be in the form of certain access to an institution or a reward in form of financials. Only being granted to basic of financial necessity here means that is the only way that can be earned by people who are not financially capable, so that they can get a scholarship to get educational facility that will be obtained later. I will limit this motion in Indonesia because Indonesia is included into the top 5 countries that do not have an equal education, and based on the data from the Ministry of Education and Culture Indonesia state that almost 50% of its students were unable to continue access to education because they were unable to pay the financial thing. This proves that the purpose of the scholarship is not to provide access to education for students. Taking into account that considering the sad inequality of education in Indonesia, as a result, more than 50% of people who cannot afford not being able to continue their education because they do not get the scholarship that should be allocated by them. That is why we beg to propose this motion. I am standing here as to opening this debating session as the first speaker of the positive team, which will bring one argument based on economical side. My second speaker will bring an argument based on the educational point of view. The third speaker will rebut and defend our arguments, and reply speaker, which is me, will conclude this wonderful debate. One thing that I'm going to talk about today is from the economical side, which is equalizing education for people who are not financially capable. Once again, more than 50% of Indonesian people are not capable of getting an equal education because they do not have sufficient funds to finance their education later. Considering this, the government should be able to provide scholarship to people who cannot afford the financial, whether they want to go to elementary school or want to go to college, whether they want to go to public or the private schools. Because in fact, the Indonesian government has emphasized that to equalize education in Indonesia. For fulfill and realize the equality of Indonesian education, the Indonesian government should apply the scholarship should only be granted on the basis of financial necessity, which means they will give monthly living expense subsidies to scholarship recipients amounting to 650,000 rupiah by considering the cost of living and the cost of education that will be pursued later. This scholarship can be accepted by those who are financially unstable with several basic terms such as A. They have Indonesian smart card holders or KIP students KIP students. B. The combined gross income of parents or the guardian is maximum of IDR 4 million per month. C. The combined gross income of parents or the guardian divided by the number of family members is a maximum of 750 per month. D. Parental and guardian education is high as S1 or Diploma 4. This scholarship is only given to the students who cannot afford this financial thing, because we must considering about, firstly, this is the only opportunity for students who are financially unable to gain access to education. Unlike those who are financially capable, students who are financially incapable at all do not get the same opportunity to study because they have no money at all to support their education ladder. If we give scholarship based on the academic achievement, this means it means that they at least still have the ability to get access to education because they have the ability in terms of the finance. Remember that people who have the ability in the financial thing, whether they are smart or not, it will definitely be easy to get access to get access because they can get access to education because they are financially capable for them to learn. And this will not apply to people who do not have financial, because they cannot get any access to study because they are not sufficient in the main thing, that is finance. Secondly, students, whether they are students or students who receive the scholarship based on the poverty, have a great contribution to the development of educational equality in Indonesia. By providing access to education for the poor, it means that more people who do not have access to education are more educated, which ultimately can reduce the gap in education in Indonesia, which in turn will lead to the government's goal to equalize education in Indonesia. By providing scholarship to those who are financially unstable, it will facilitate equal distribution of education in Indonesia by eliminating the main problem that makes education in Indonesia backward. That is that many people cannot afford to get an education because they do not have a sufficient finance. The team who oppose this motion might say that the people who are not financially able will not have the desire to go to school and only use the scholarship. This is strongly wrong, ladies and gentlemen. Remember that if they have registered and struggling to get a scholarship for their education ladder, it means they already have a desire to get access for their educations. Of course, as a government that is guided by the goals of the Ministry of Education and Culture in Indonesia, it must provide access to education in order to realize equal distribution of education in Indonesia, which is giving those who are financially unstable a scholarship to get an education in every step of education. But back with my argument based on the economical side, which is equalizing education for people who are not financially capable, we want to propose this motion. This House believes that scholarship should only be granted on the basic financial necessity. Thank you.